So at first I was thrilled that I got comfortable with, being able to say yes and no in a healthy way. And as the work continued and as it got deeper, it was like, well, where do you want to continue to say yes, Dave? And as I answered those questions, then I started realizing I was putting the but behind it. Certain things need to continue to change, or I need to develop into an even more powerful man, or I had this list of really unattainable things for me to actually be the man that I desire to be. And so then the relationship started to change with the, yes, I want that. Yes, that sounds amazing. Yes, let's pursue that. I'm on board. But.
Welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I'm your host, Tim Matthews, joined with Mr. Mark Smith.
Hello.
And Mr. David Mason.
Hello.
AKA?
No doubt.
I love it. I love it. We'll dive into that more in a minute. So you and I were just having a really cool conversation because this week is the first time you and I have met, right?
Correct.
In person.
Yes.
You've been in the movement for a little while now. 18 months or so, I'd say. But for one reason or another, we just seemed to miss one another, whether you went to a brother event and I didn't or whatever. So, point being, this is the first time we've met each other in person, which was fantastic. I've loved it, by the way. One more time with you. It's incredible. You are an incredible guy. So smart, so funny. You're just contagious. I want to spend more time around you, just to be clear. We'll get to that later. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But the story you were sharing with me about your journey into TPM, I think that's going to be a really cool topic for us to dive into, because I think there could be other guys out there that might resonate. So do you mind sharing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. So about 24 months ago, in the summer of 2023, I was in a place of a lot of frustration. I was frustrated with my life partner. I was frustrated with my business partners. And more importantly, I was frustrated with me. And so I began searching because I knew there needed to be some type of outlet to be able to recognize what was going inside of me, being fed up with being fed up, if you will. And so, searching one day, and I often wonder if I found TPM or the powerful man, or whether the powerful man found me. And it's not just a neat saying to question that. It's because when I came across a video of you sharing a little bit of your story, it really resonated with me. It wasn't where I had to wonder, what's this guy talking about? Where's this guy coming from? Can I trust him? It was right to the heart of the matter for me. And you shared this story of, what would it be like to be sitting in a dining room and whatever topic comes up, but if my father asked me a question that I knew the answer was no to, first of all, would I say no? Secondly, what would happen if I said no? And then understanding that when I processed saying no, what did that emotion or what did that feel like raise inside of me? And right then it clicked. The frustration that I had been experiencing at that point was I felt like I had to fight or explain why I needed to say no. So I ended up in my life, in my adult life, saying yes to a lot of things that really were no's. And I was dealing with a deep-rooted fear, anger, and frustration about knowing in my heart that I should be saying no, but saying yes. And when you shared that story, it resonated. This man gets me.
I get it, brother. Kindred spirit. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of others out there as well, right?
Yes.
It's interesting because, back then when I was also afraid of saying no, as you realize. So I did say no to things that were really, I said yes to things that were really a no. Because I was too scared of saying no because of the consequences, which for me back then as a child really were either going to be physical violence or intimidation, which both of which as a kid are terrifying, right? Because I just didn't know which version of my father I was going to get. The environment that I grew up in was a very unpredictable and very hostile one. And my dad watches this show, and him and I have spoken about this and had many conversations, but I also need to say what I need to say. So, yeah, I witnessed a lot growing up. I was in a very, probably one of the best ways to put it is my sister left home at 13 because she had to get out of the environment. I was 7 years younger than her, so I was left kind of on my own, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Her and I have spoken a lot, and she has apparently seen things and was witness to things that were a lot worse than I heard, although I witnessed some pretty bad things. But the point is, within the unpredictability of the environment, not knowing which version of my dad I was going to get, been terrified of saying no to things because of the consequences. I then grew up and got into relationships that meant that I said yes to things that were very much a no. But equally, I also said no to things that were very much a yes. Because on the journey of saying yes to things that were a no, I was basically self-sacrificing myself and my own needs. And thus, the internal subconscious conversation in that moment is, I don't matter. My needs don't matter to me. So therefore, when there was an opportunity for me to say yes to something that was going to be exciting for me, or was going to be enjoyable for me, or whatever it may have been, I said no. Because I either didn't feel worthy or good enough of doing or having that thing. And look, just to say, this was all hidden behind a mask of success too.
Right.
Because,
nobody saw it.
No, nobody saw it, because one of the responses, one of the common themes of entrepreneurialism is it often comes from a trauma response, if you will, right? The drive and the need to prove and all of that stuff comes from the place of, I refuse to ever be in that position.
Yeah.
It produces some great results, right? So I had all this going on beneath the surface of growing at the time, one of the UK's fastest growing fitness franchises within its particular niche. And seemingly everything was going well in my life. And I couldn't quite pinpoint back then why it didn't feel like it looked. And obviously now in hindsight, looking back, a big piece of that was me saying yes to things that were really a no, which meant I got into a relationship I should never have been in, quite frankly. Ended up proposing, getting the house, all that kind of stuff, when I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. I got robbed of tens of thousands in a business deal I should never have gone into. But I went into it out of neediness and desperation, even though, again, I knew it was the wrong thing to do. Because I didn't trust myself, I didn't listen to myself, and then as a result, because of such a low self-esteem behind the image, right, of confidence and bravado and all the rest of it, like I said, I'd then say no to things that were really a yes, the things I really wanted to do, like have the kind of relationship I wanted to have, or take bigger risks or whatever it may be. They were all a no.
Yeah.
Just it's like this purgatory, right? You're saying yes to the things you don't want to do, no to the things you do want to do, and just end up trapped in this existential no man's land where I was terrified of saying no, because as I've done the work on it now, and now look back and realize that saying no meant physical harm, which as a child meant I couldn't control. So it's how far does that harm go? And as I peeled it back, what that equates to is saying no equals death, ultimately, right? Or the fear of, right? But I love that you sat here, right? Because we share very similar journeys. I've never heard about it from your perspective with your upbringing. Did you have something similar?
I'm resonating fully with what you're saying, and
Really?
having been frankly sexually abused as a kid, right? Gave up my needs. I said yes because I was powerless to things that I shouldn't have, and knew it was a no. Viscerally, in my heart and soul, it was a no, and didn't have advocacy or power to essentially stand up for myself. And same thing led to business deals where I lost tens of thousands, and I'm still owed about, anyway, you get the picture. So I resonate completely fully with that.
So I also suffered sexual abuse as a kid. I've shared that with, I don't know if you knew that, but I've shared that with you before.
Yeah.
Don't think mum and dad know that. Listen to the show. So
My mum and dad don't know this about me either. Interestingly.
As you said it, right? The inability to say no in the moment.
Yeah.
It was only once or twice that I experienced it. But I remember feeling, this doesn't quite seem right. Like I knew something was wrong, but I never said no.
Yeah.
All right. And I just think there's a link between all these things for me.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Back to you. So tell us a little bit more about what resonated with you then within the story you heard 20 months ago and what we're talking about now.
Well, to kind of cut to the chase after I processed hearing your story and it really resonating, really grasping my heart, because it was, yes, it logically made sense to me because I could relate to it, but I felt it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked myself, will I say yes to this? Will I allow myself to continue to seek the internal joy, to be able to process the information I was processing on a daily basis, to release the frustration? Basically, can I say yes to myself to give myself a fighting chance to catch my breath? And from the very first phone calls from the team, once I put that inquiry in, I knew I was amongst a group of people that saw me and could relate to me and was going to offer help, but not from a do this and you'll be okay. It was more like, we're going to come alongside you and show you the path that we've walked. And that if you'll consider walking it, there is safety in this process and there is freedom in this process. And we see you, Dave. And so on a real genuine level, I thought it was a huge risk at the time of saying yes. And that's turned into 18 months of I don't want to say a revitalized Dave, because I'm not sure if I was vitalized ever before this, but a rejuvenated, a now fully living being that can look at the options of, is this a yes? Is this a no? And which one gets me closer to who the genuine David Mason is? Instead of, where does it allow me to avoid fear or avoid pain or to grasp approval? It had to do with, does it align with where David is going with his life? And having that kind of freedom to be able to truly make your own decisions is a freedom that, well, I haven't found it anywhere else, to be honest with you. And it's from within. And so the powerful man, through a loving process, through consistent coaching, have been able to share with me the keys that help unlock their hearts, and just presented it to me as an option. Would you like to try this in your life? And so it's been quite the experience of learning techniques that logically either didn't make sense or did make sense, but I've learned how to apply it in my heart, with my passion, and not just academically. And so it's made quite an impact on my life.
It's wild to consider how many entrepreneurs, executives, business owners struggle with this concept of saying no, despite the successes they've built.
Yeah, right.
Well, but it makes complete sense as to why they end up so stressed out, burnt out, disillusioned, right? Because in the process of not saying no, they just continue to take on more and more and more. And I get it. I was there. I thought I could outwork the problem.
Yeah.
I thought if I just make enough money, or if I just do this, or when I have that, or whatever, all of a sudden I'd magically learn to, I guess, be someone that I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
But obviously I was, running the wrong race. I was never going to achieve that outcome through the business success. But it's wild, right? We see it all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like a epidemic.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, the thing is also that emotional pain is received by the brain the same way as physical pain, right? So what happens is we're forced into a state of fight and flight. So when it comes to those decisions, a business is something to hide behind and build that, and it's a separate entity. It's not me. So I don't have to deal with that stuff.
Distraction.
Yeah, a lot of guys have been on that journey. Do you resonate with that?
I resonate that, and it makes a lot of sense because when people would recognize and compliment the success of my business, I actually would recoil from that because I knew, not in as clear a way to articulate it like today, but I knew that the level at which I built my business and the success that the outward public saw was really a barometer of how much pain I was in. Because I would hide behind it. I would pour my effort. I would distract myself with it. I'd work all those hours, and yes, it would be successful, and it would have all of the check marks of what success means. And so you go to some kind of a function, or your family sees it, and they're congratulating you on your pain. On your...
So true. I was just thinking the same thing. The more success, often it's accompanied by more pain. How much pain can you handle and tolerate, right?
Yeah.
I want to buy you a gift. Look, if your marriage is struggling, and let's be real, every marriage struggles at some point, but yours is struggling where you've lost that love, admiration, respect, I want to help you. I want to buy you a copy of the book that I wrote, A Man's Guide on How to Save Your Marriage Without Talking About It. In here, I've distilled over 8 years of programs that we've developed at TPM to help men just like you save their marriages without talking about it. There's no fluff, no BS. It's an action plan that you can start using today to actually save your marriage and bring that love and respect back into your family, back into your house. You deserve it. Look, all I ask is you pay the postage, you pay the shipping, I'll buy the book for you. That way you can take massive action today. Click the link or find it in the bio and get your copy now.
What I'm really excited for about you and the other guys in the movement is I love how you guys redefine the journey. Because I got to imagine if I'm putting myself in the position of the listeners back where I was. And I think if I was hearing this, I'd be thinking, okay, so are you saying to me that I have to choose it's success or pain, essentially? I either eradicate my pain and therefore I can't be successful, or how can I essentially have more success without the pain? And I love how you're on that journey. And we see so many men in the movement redefine that journey for themselves. And as a result, they often experience greater levels of success, both financial and otherwise, often with less pain, both personal and otherwise, and often by working fewer hours because they start saying no to things they don't need to be doing. They become more inspired because they're more connected to themselves, which therefore means they have bigger ideas. And because they're more energized, they're able to act on those ideas and take bigger risks because they realize that their self-worth isn't tied to their net worth, essentially. And they're also having more fun in their life. So vibrationally, they're just in a way better state. And as a result, the journey completely changes.
Yes, it does. And what I find amazing is you don't know my story on this part. As far as that association of learning to say yes to me has actually resulted in greater success in my business, a tremendous much more success in my business. And just this quarter, I made an agreement with my business partner to, instead of working 80, 90 hours a week, I'm now down to 4 days a week. So now we enjoy 3-day weekends where, we take, different turns as far as what days off. So I'm working the least amount of hours I've ever worked with the greatest financial success I've ever had, with the biggest smile on my face.
The path of flow, brother.
Exactly.
The path of flow.
Yeah, and we've not had an opportunity for me even to share that with you now till just now. And so as you described the impact of what it's had on many, many other men, I'm having chills right now because I didn't chase that.
Yeah.
That's been the result of living the life that I've learned to live with a healthy, boundaries based for myself, not a boundary for other to respect about me, boundaries for me to respect about myself, and to get very sensitive and aware of what those are, and then to have the self-awareness to honor me and to respect myself and to learn to get comfortable with honoring myself. And so the result of being more comfortable with saying no to certain things and then getting comfortable saying yes to certain things has resulted in the immense, not just financial success, but the spirit and the culture amongst my staff. Because that is what's actually created the financial success of their ability to produce with much more efficiency. And what I mean by efficiency is much more being comfortable recognizing the flaws and capitalizing the flaws into the wins. Because when we make an error, it's not a reflection on a devaluation of us. Oh, you messed up, so you're worth less to the team. No, you made an error, which means we can all become stronger because of your part of the team. And so we've adapted that win mentality and taking time to intentionally recognize the value of each one of us. And with everyone's conscious value mindset being elevated, they're just producing in a much more relaxed environment, a much more joyous environment. They'll be able to appreciate the results of it. That yes, on the P&L, the bottom line has quadrupled. Like it's not just 4 and 5%, which I would be thrilled with that. But no, it's phenomenal to where my business partner is now very happy that I'm part of. The powerful man, and he's encouraged me to continue this journey. I'm very happy because, yes, all of those things. But as I was thinking about it personally, I used to go to the comedy show looking for joy, the comedy clubs looking for the laughter. I used to go look for entertainment, whether it be a ball game somewhere, or maybe it's a concert. And yes, in the moment, in those places, hanging out with my buddies, that's a fun time. And I had to smile on my face. But then there's the 30-minute drive home afterwards. There's the quiet time at 10 p.m. when you're staring at the ceiling. And I'm grateful for my smile. I'm grateful that I have my smile back and I don't have to go hunting for it in some outside stimulus. It's an outward flowing of what's going on inside. And to be so appreciative of that outward evidence of what's taking place on the inside. Sure, I still enjoy a ball game. I still enjoy those types of things, but I enjoy me in those environments, not looking for those environments to fill me up like they used to. And so that's been an incredible experience. And, as we're talking on the subject of yes or no, I found myself, maybe it's sometimes not even the starkest contrast of a yes or no, but for me, sometimes it was the yes, but. Yes, I want this, but. And I would come up with the stories of why this wasn't attainable or I wasn't worthy to even pursue it. And so to be able to understand, even to be aware of and conscious of the yes, but. So at first I was thrilled that I got comfortable with, being able to say yes and no in a healthy way. And as the work continued and as it got deeper, it was like, well, where do you want to continue to say yes, Dave? And as I answered those questions, then I started realizing I was putting the but behind it. certain things need to continue to change, or I need to develop into an even more powerful man, or I had this list of really unattainable things for me to actually be the man that I desired to be. And so then the relationship started to change with the, yes, I want that. Yes, that sounds amazing. Yes, let's pursue that. I'm on board. But
it's kind of like no is a complete sentence. So is yes.
My wife's favorite saying.
Really?
No is a complete sentence. You know what inspires me about what you've just said is what that creates for you in terms of the relationships you have with either an intimate partner or children, grandchildren.
yes,
Right?
yes. Because as I got clarity on why is there the but, and as I've been able to address the stories I put around what I truly want, as I process the but, with it came the freedom to explore more of what yeses that I've already said no to without even realizing it. I haven't given myself permission, in other words, to dream that big. So when I first considered the yes and the no's, I had a very limited tunnel vision. And it was just a process for me to get used to considering the yes and no and what does Dave really want. Then as I got comfortable with that comparison and seeing the differences, then I was saying yes a lot. Yes, but. And as I've processed, well, what's really the no that I'm saying behind it? And once I got a good relationship with the no, I was realizing, yes, I want this, but what I really want is this.
Yeah.
And I started giving my permission. And the buts came right with each one, because each one had its own limiting thought of why I either didn't deserve it, why I had not enough skills to attain it, all the limiting in the areas of abundance. We talk about, wealth being one of the aspects that we focus on, and not just financial wealth, but abundance of knowledge, abundance of skill, abundance of creativity. And so as I started getting a grasp, as I was coached along of what abundance is really inside of me as a man, then the yeses got even bigger. And not so much that I was trying to attain something bigger, but the honesty became deeper. And the belief in myself to really have permission to dream that big and to just take the step forward. And what I started learning is that as I believed in the yeses being bigger, and I thought I understood what the outcome was going to be, it wasn't. It was when I took the first step. Things I didn't know existed started opening up. When I took the second step, then there were new relationships with other businesses or other friendships or other relationships that I would have never crossed paths with if I was too scared to even allow myself the permission to even pursue this interest, whatever it was. And so what I have found is, yes, and I can go attain that vision and I can go attain that goal, but between point A and point B, there's a whole life to live. And that's what's been so life-changing to me is not just, it's all of it, but it's been the amazing doors, the amazing relationships, the amazing experiences, which really deepens the quality of life. It really deepens the flavor. And so I'm very appreciative of, yes, learning how to say yes and learning how to recognize the yes buts. But as I've continued this process, what I didn't see coming was the journey between the two and how many doors have opened. That's what's been so rich about it for me.
Yeah.
It's so incredible when you get out of your own way what is possible. And I think it's so useful from the perspective of the guys watching. We put self-health in relationships, and a lot of guys struggle with putting myself first. Are you kidding me? How can I? I've got all of these responsibilities, obligations, etc. And how do I possibly find the time to put me first? And a lot of guys say that. So what for you was the answer? Because you're a busy guy. What was the answer there?
As far as the challenge around understanding and learning that I needed to put me first, was that whatever relationship that I desire to have with you, the level of the depth of a relationship I can have with you or anyone else that I value is a reflection of the depth of relationship I already have with myself.
Yeah.
And so as I desired love, it was critically important that I learned how to love myself, because I learned that, sure, I could stop developing myself now, and that was going to be at the level that I was able to see my children was at the same honesty that I could look at myself in the mirror. And so whether it's the relationships, with the men in the movement, the relationships with my children, grandchildren, business partners, clients, those are at the same depth that I have with myself. And so when I desire to be more giving, to be more charitable, to be a more effective business partner, whatever my desires are, where I want me to show up, it is at a similar or same level of how much I've shown up for me.
Yeah.
So I've learned it's critical that I spend time with myself in the mornings to really ask myself, where do I get to say yes today? Because the more I can say yes to me in the right healthy way, then I can tell my teams how to say yes.
Yeah.
And then when they learn to say yes, then they learn to trust themselves. So as I learn to trust myself, and so it's really a reflection is what I've learned is that the level that I take care of myself, that I invest in me, that I spend time really getting to know where I'm at, where I'm going, and what's the motivation behind it, then naturally I don't have to work on remembering to call a loved one to say happy birthday.
Yeah.
I don't have to remember to show the right kind of appreciation to a team member that really excelled. It's just naturally a bubbling up energy because you've invested in yourself first. And so what really helped me get past this thought of it being selfish to invest with me, then I realized for me to really be the kind of business owner that I would really love to be, it requires me to spend the time with myself.
Yeah.
There is no shortcut when it comes to that. I also learned it's a lot easier because I used to think that it's a very difficult, challenging thing to take care of myself. And so I think that's why I avoided it. And what I've learned is it's a lot more simple, like just taking a deep breath, just spending time without the screens on.
Yeah.
Maybe turning some music on that really resonates and starts to soothe you. And just start slow, like any other normal goal or other technique. Just start small. Don't put this perfection mindset that I've got to be this guru. No, just learn to love yourself. Learn to take care of yourself. Learn to see yourself, because out of that is how you take care of others and how you see others.
It's a wellspring, right?
Yes, exactly. I don't know exactly when that clicked, but I will tell you that today, in my life now, I will have family members call me. I'll have staff members call me and say, Dave, obviously you're still Dave. You look like the same guy, but you're not the same man. You have dramatically changed in how you speak to us, how you encourage us, how you face challenges, how you coach us. And so I don't have to go out and ask, hey, am I a better, friend to you? They've actually been coming to me saying, we see a difference. And we'd like some of that.
Yeah.
And so at that level in a passing conversation or in that moment, this is where I usually give the advice of, well, let's start spending some time with you. Let's start taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of look at the idea of, is it selfish to put you first? Maybe to someone that's a new idea to, sure, it sounds that way. We've been taught to put other people first. But the reality is it's actually critical if we want a full life, if we want an abundant life, if we want a satisfying life, to be able to be there for those that are important to us, to be able to be the one that someone can call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, can I call myself at 3 o'clock in the morning? Will I show up for me? Will I spend the time necessary for me in the times where I really need it? And sometimes that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, so is lifting weights. There's resistance there. And you'll see a lot of guys at the gym voluntarily going with resistance. And then we'll still fight with the idea of just spending time looking at ourselves in the mirror, making eye contact and saying, let's make today a yes day.
I love that. Let's make today a yes day.
Yeah.
I love that. So guys, as we like to say here, at the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.